After leaving New York at 15 for Los Angeles, one of the first things I wanted to do after I was there for a little while was go to Disneyland. It was the mid-70s, and going to Disneyland was going to prove harder than it sounded. I came to find out that Disney had an unspoken policy. It didn't like when two adults of the same sex without children entered the park. Nevertheless, I convinced two of my friends to go with me, and sure enough, we were denied entry. A year or two later, we heard that there was going to be a gay night, so we all planned to go. But of course it got canceled very last minute. Shortly after a couple of club owners with money got involved, Disney did have its first gay night. I think for young people today, hearing that LGBT people couldn't go to a theme park might be surprising, but that's how it was. Stick around and I'll tell you some more things that were commonplace in the 70s. Raids. Queer establishments were raided regularly. Not only did they raid the club, but they took a special thrill in humiliating the patrons. At that time, we also couldn't find jobs. Being LGBT was reason enough not to get hired and reason enough to be fired if you were hired. And the kicker is there was nothing you could do about it. The same went for housing. Being part of the LGBT community was reason enough not to get an apartment, and we had no recourse. Until 1973, psychiatrists considered being part of the LGBT community a mental illness. Don't kid yourself. We might have been taken out of the books in 1973, but the public perception didn't change for a long time after that. Back then, everybody knew somebody who had spent time in a psychiatric facility. Electroshock therapy was very popular. Visibility for the most part was non-existent, and when you were in a movie or a film, we were shown as something very negative, often the butt of a joke. We also were banned from serving in the military, which I considered a blessing because the Vietnam War was going on. Legal recognition was something that still didn't exist. The law did not recognize our existence. Sadly, at the time, any harassment or violence that was brought upon us was not able to be prosecuted. I'm lying. I don't know whether or not it could be prosecuted, but I know that it went unprosecuted. I'm sure you can imagine what a vulnerable position that left us in. Imagine how hard it was to transition at that time. Needless to say, it didn't get any easier when the AIDS crisis began only a few years later. The sickness and the suffering were unimaginable, and the president chose to ignore it. Back then, conversion therapy was all the rage. Censorship was a big problem. Anything written by or had to do with anything LGBT was banned. We all just learned to cope with the medical discrimination. Either they refused to see us or they gave us subpar service. At school, the harassment could be terrible, so most people didn't go to school because anything that happened to you was your fault. If you stood up to a bully, it would be you that got evicted. Our community was considered personas non grata in any social institutions like churches or YMCA. This whole video has been about life in the 70s. Funny enough, it sounds like life in 2025. With so many great things to bring back from the 70s, why would we focus on those? We fought and won those battles, and we will fight and win these battles again today using the same strategies.